There's a lot of talk as well around your interview with President Zuma.
Zuma, for the first time, took time to explain his relationship with the president, with President Ramaphosa. My interpretation of the whole GNU solution was that the ANC did not want to go right or left. You ignoring the fact that the poor may end up eating the rich if this happens, if this carries on. Most unequal society in the world. It's not a badge of honor. GA is not going to fold its arms and play Kumbaya ahead of 2026.
JJ Tabane, thank you for joining us on SMWX. You are a legend of this platform.
It's a pleasure, and I think you have reached your quota now.
Oh, really? So no more interviews with you? Yeah,
no, but you must come to my platform now.
Anytime. Yeah. But I think we must just have you every week, actually. Tell us how much it will cost. You're back on our screens. There were rumors swirling that you had left or ENCA had fired you, so you can clear that up now. I guess.
No. I said when I got back yesterday, I said you mustn't believe everything you read in the newspapers, but I think now you mustn't believe everything you read on Twitter.
Yeah.
I fell ill and I was in hospital, and then I didn't know I was training for 2 days. That's why I only responded on day 2 to say, guys, I'm on sick leave. Yeah. Because obviously sick leave would be sudden. It's not like I would have announced in my last show that tomorrow I won't be here.
Yeah.
But otherwise I'm fine. And then it just coincided with my annual leave. Usually I take leave in the middle of the year for a month to recalibrate.
Absolutely.
Just come up with new material.
Sure.
Don't know whether I've succeeded this time. Come up with any new material.
Yeah.
But every time I take leave, I've been on ENCA for 4 years now. This is season 4.
Right.
Every time I take that annual leave, they say he's been fired now. Now it has happened.
Yeah.
You know why?
Yeah.
Because I do say fireable things. So people will always wonder, at what point will he be fired?
Yeah.
But I understand that the kind of media landscape is such that there is a lot of restraint.
Absolutely.
And a lot of politeness. The way to ask the question, not to offend somebody, and what have you. So that's why people who sometimes don't understand my show, they think if I'm renting, it means that if I have a guest, I'll rent at the guest. No, not here. No, maybe in India, there's a guy in India who does what I do, but they rent at you.
Really?
As you are in front of them. I think it will be quite funny if I started shouting.
Just take some senior politician and
just rant at them and then say reply. So unfortunately, I won't do that. There's still a little bit of politeness that creeps in. And I thought after doing this for a few years on radio and whatever, I used to go to my show with a set of 10 tough questions.
Right.
Until I realized, but these people has already answered question number 9 and 8 and 7, and I'm still on question number 3. So what am I going to do now? So I decided to abandon that style and have a conversational style.
Absolutely. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah. So you prepare overall. And that's why if a person says, give us the question, I say, well, I don't know what the questions are going to be.
Gonna say,
I don't know what you're going to say. So if I give you the questions, are you going to give me the answers?
Yeah.
Then we're going to be stuck,
do,
So let's rather deal with thematic conversations. And it's not because I'm trying to I'm not trying to prove to be cleverer than the guest or whatever, or try to ask everything because I only have 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
The thing is an hour, but 15 minutes is advertising. So basically I only have 45 minutes. So in that 45 minutes, I pick 2 or 3 themes in those 3 or 4 segments, and I deal with those. And then the person can come back. You don't have to finish everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here am I here for the 3rd time.
And soon to be 4th and 5th. There was a lot of talk as well around your interview with President Zuma. Or can you enlighten us to the extent that you're able to? I don't know how much you're able to talk about it. About that, because it seemed as if in some ways you had been silenced for doing that interview at a key time in the election.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I don't own ENC. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I give them material, and over the last 4 years that I have been there, I managed to get away with all my interviews. Literally. right? A few times when we had pre-recorded, there would then be a debate about should we air this? Right. But if it's live, we will not have that argument.
Sure.
Right? So, we had an interview with Ronnie Casserels. I'll just give you that example just for context. And he was talking a lot of vicious stuff against Israel.
Right.
So you can just imagine. So my boss said, hey guy, this guy nobody's challenging him. You're the only one. But what had happened was that the person who was supposed to debate with him did not pitch.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was not a live show. I was going to travel. So I decided, well, let me just record it. I'll be the counter force and ask him like a devil's advocate kind of thing. But that was not good enough. So we didn't flight that. And I didn't even know it was not flighted because I was away in Gaborone. And, I didn't pay attention that it doesn't flight it until I came back to an email from Ronnie Castle saying, where the hell is my interview?
Wow. Yeah.
And then they said, no, but it's not balanced. And so it was 4 weeks of debate about this. Then I decided let me get a meeting between my managing editor and Ronnie Casserels to resolve the thing because we can resolve it amongst ourselves, amongst comrades, So then they deadlocked. Ronnie says, no, you must play my interview. Otherwise you are censoring me. I was censored during apartheid. You can't censor me now. Cannot happen. Right? And then John Bailey said, yeah, but we need to be balanced. This is a very sensitive issue. So I said, guys, no, I think we can meet each other halfway. Let's bring the Jewish Board of Deputies to come and debate with Ronnie. So we'll play Ronnie's interview.
Sure.
And then we'll get Zef, the vice president of the Jewish Board of Deputies, to respond. And then we'll get both of them to debate. So it's a 90-minute special.
Wow.
And they agreed. So all we needed to do was to make sure that Ronnie's interview can fit within 30 minutes, so no ads, because otherwise it was going to be over an hour with ads. So we didn't really truncate it or anything. It was simply to remove the ads and make sure that it plays for half an hour. Zef responds. It was a very tense interview.
Yeah, I must go back and
But it was 90% market share on that night.
I don't think I was on that night. So
I think you were. So you had to deal with your 10% left.
See now.
So we've got a very good relationship with my managers there. So we're able to take each other on to say no JJ, this is this thing. So when it's pre-recorded, then you are able to see loopholes that otherwise you wouldn't care when it's live, right? So for example, there was an interview with the Director General of Pravin Gordhan.
Yes.
You can just imagine how, there's 1 hour of accusations left, right, and center. And they say, but Pravin must come and respond. I said, yeah, well, he can come and respond, And the department were not interested. They said, no, play the thing. And we'll respond after, So even though it's a free platform, there may be those kind of things that could happen. So now, in this case, I've been asking for Zuma's interview for months. You are luckier than me.
Yeah, well, what can I say?
Then there was a new spokesperson who's quite a dynamic guy, very, very affable chap, who said, yeah, let's do it.
That's Nkamulo.
Yeah, Nkamulo will look at the timing. I didn't know that the timing would mean something like, you have to come to Nkandla today or on Saturday.
So they called you
this is now a week before the elections. Yeah. Come now.
Wow.
Or forever hold your peace. I said, no, I'm coming now.
I'm on a flight.
Yeah. We're on a flight. ENCA booked us to fly there. Wow. We drove all the way to Nkandla to do the interview, etc. And while I was there, I was talking to my MD and saying, hey, this thing we must play it on because we got there late, so we couldn't do it live.
Right.
By the time we started the interview, it was midnight.
Wow.
Right, so there was no way of doing it live. The channel had already closed by that time.
So did you have to wait for a long time? Or?
Yes, we had to wait the whole evening. But when we didn't mind, we were already there, you know. So now I say to my MD, listen, man, we can't do live now because he's still busy in meetings. This was like now something to 10. So I said to him, we'll have to play the interview on Monday in full. And he says, perfect. Right? So now in our minds, when we say we're going to play it on Monday, I've even advertised it on my Twitter line.
It was huge.
Yeah,
everyone was waiting for it.
now come the legal people on Monday morning saying, actually, you can't play it because it's actually 2 days before the elections and it's not allowed. So that's what's really the totality. I know that people expect big sensation or censorship and what, but actually, technically, otherwise, if somebody had imposed when it has to be played, I would blame those people. But I only have me to blame because I had said to the MD, we'll play it. Since we can't do it live, let's play it because my show only airs on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So I couldn't air it before that.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So I had designated it to play on Monday on my show, 2 hours, just a 2-hour long marathon interview.
Sure. That would have got 100% market share.
I know, Yeah. So now, that's totality of why it couldn't be played.
Okay. Interesting.
There could be nuances and suspicions about why didn't it was played on a different slot? But we have to respect each other. If you've got a show on Sunday night at 8, mine is on Monday night. I can't can't just impose on you to say I'm gonna play my show on your show. But I could control what's gonna be played on my time slot.
Sure.
But unfortunately, the legal people said, sorry, you're out of time.
Must have been quite disappointing for you because that was...
No, it was because I'd been looking for this interview for years. In fact, I had said, once I've done an interview, I can retire peacefully from television. Because I've interviewed practically everyone,
Absolutely.
So...
and everyone was trying to get that interview at that time.
Yeah, no. Even I don't have it. Yeah. So it's there somewhere in the archives, locked away.
Really? Was there anything said in that interview that you were hoping people would hear, or
yes, actually, different? Interesting stuff. Obviously, I won't go into too much detail. Yeah. But Zuma, for the first time, took time to explain his relationship with President Ramaphosa.
Sure.
Right, from the beginning, like to say, how did this guy end up my deputy? Type of thing. Let me explain.
This thing must be flighted on Netflix.
You understand? Actually. And then he says, Ramaphosa had agreed, right? So part of the condition of how he became deputy was that he was not going to stand for president. Right? So essentially he broke rank by doing what he did in 2017. Was to break rank. That's why Zuma was supporting a different candidate, because you would have thought these guys have gotten a good rapport. Yeah. He was deputy for such a long time. If it's time for him to ascend, you would expect Zuma to support him. But in fact, Zuma supported in Nkosazana. Right? So he gave context, which was fascinating. That's because he had never said that anywhere else. Absolutely. Because I asked the question, what's your beef with the president? That was how I asked that question. What's your beef with the president?
Why do you use beef now in cattle?
Beef. Yeah. But we're in Kant in the middle of somewhere where we could have been offered beef. Anyway. So it was interesting. It took 2 hours because, when you ask a statesman one question, they give you a full lecture. Yeah. Sure. Because I asked, my first question was, why Mkhonto wesizwe? Right? Now he misunderstood that question to say to want to now give the history of the actual MK. But what I was asking is, why do you call this thing of yours now Mkhonto wesizwe when we know what Mkhonto wesizwe is? So that's a whole segment, just that answer to that one question. Wow. That's why it took 2 hours.
Sure.
It was not planned to be 2 hours. It was planned to be an hour, but we carried on for another hour. So fascinating. I'm hoping that and the ENC has agreed that we can bring Zuma live anytime.
Interesting.
So there's no issue, because what we thought was that if we do it after the elections, it was going to be irrelevant, because half the stuff in there was essentially electioneering. Let's be honest.
Sure.
So it was going to be just out of curiosity to play it again, and and then the next thing will be accused that no, but why did you leave out that part? Actually, we can't play the whole 2 hours because, in fact, your show, by the way, is an hour, not 2.
Yes, exactly.
Nobody gave me permission to go to 2 hours. I said, no, it was going to be part 1, part 2. You can play part 1 on Monday, part 2. But anyway, there was an amicable resolution of the thing. There was no issue. Yeah. That's why I'm still there. There was people sometimes, can go ahead of themselves.
Absolutely, especially on social media.
The EFF issued a full statement saying, what the hell is ENC doing to you? But they couldn't get hold of me because I was actually in hospital at that time. Shame, the spokesperson, who's a very good friend of mine, then said, they didn't even consult me. I just saw a statement. Said, I'm ill. I was not fine.
And especially in that election time, people are prepared to believe all kinds of crazy
You understand? Yeah, no, Twitter on this time really disappointed because really it was like
it's the worst.
Trendy at number 1 for 2 days for something that's false.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thanks for clearing it up because I think people weren't sure.
No, Zuma will come. They've agreed. It's a question of when.
He has to come here first, right? And then
he's already been here. You have the full-on thing ending candle, I think. So give other children a chance.
Look, there's no other place to go after this than the GNU itself.
Yes.
Now I wanna play you one of your famous rants. And ask you what you think of it, because this is what people thought got you fired.
Change the lives of people, and it's sad that black parties couldn't just get it together and say, "Hey guys, it's been 30 years. We don't have the land. We don't have the economy. We don't have anything next to our names. Let's pull together." No. Hey, where blacks can gather, it's going to be terrible. Hey, they're going to steal. Hey, stop it. The markets will be very angry. Hey, the cold front will come from the market. Hey, it's sad. It's sad that we are underlining with a red, big, fat pen that says, "Karisamu sutukile kuwa." You must bring a white person there, then maybe there'll be order. We must talk about these things. Don't tell me to be romantic overnight here and say, "Oh, let's use black and white together." The DA hates anything that has to do with transforming this economy so that it can benefit blacks. They want to give black people vouchers. But it's a voucher. No, you're having too many BE deals. Stop. You're going too rich. Good luck to the NC to make that, to unscramble that egg. Abuletsi Biko are a black man, you are on your own.
Yeah, wow, that was quite the incredible. I mean, your rants. How you came up with the idea of the rants. It's a really seminal moment in media history in South Africa. Those rants of yours, but. Fascinating perspective on the GNU because it came at a time when everyone was trying to push for this GNU, saying it was the perfect thing. Do you share those sentiments?
No, not really. I was saying to my team, as I'm coming back now, because I missed the whole month of commentary.
Exactly.
Inauguration, new ministers, etc. So, in any moment in history, when you have to restructure your governance, there must be a debate. It can't be that everybody must shut up, only one view must see the light of day. So, but once once you have arrived at a decision, that's like in any organization. Before a decision is making the storming and debating and what, but at some point then you need to say, how do we then take things forward? So now we've got a constitutional government in place that has chosen its own path, which really is a grand coalition, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. My interpretation of the whole GNU solution was that the ANC did not want to go right or left, and they decided that they should invite everybody, but knowing that they already knew that the EFF and MK are not going to come on board if the DA is on board. So the best way is to invite everybody. If the DA comes, fine, the EFF can stay away.
Sure.
Right? So I think that if they were honest, right, they would admit that it was not going to be too easy for them to just go with the DA. They had to manage internal dynamics and so on. Right now, the excuse they have is, we invited the EFF, we invited everybody. The EFF was unreasonable, so we went with the DA. But if I take a step back a bit, we've got 30 years of a range of cardinal failures.
Sam, I just wanted to interrupt this episode to let you know the 4 ways you can help SMWX. Way number 1, you can invite me to speak at your institution or company. Way number 2, you can advertise on this channel. Way number 3, you can become a member of this channel. The link to the membership is down below. And number 4, you can buy merch, that's books or hoodies. Now let's get back to the episode. All our contact details are in the description box below.
Particularly when it comes to economic indicators. You don't need to be an economist to realize that your economy growing at 0% is not a status quo you can sustain. You got to do something to change that, right? Unemployment rate of 68% for young people is a time bomb. You are hoping that those people do nothing about that situation. You ignoring the fact that the poor may end up eating the rich if this happens, if this carries on. Most unequal society in the world is not a badge of honor. It's a serious time bomb that says the rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer. That's what causes that inequality gap. And I can go on and on about those what can call cardinal failures, right? I would have thought that, therefore, the way to look at it is to say, how do you radicalize our situation to change faster, not to slow down? Because now if you look at all the things that the DA is taking up, affirmative action they don't like, employment equity they don't like, NHI they don't like, so they're going to slow you down. I'm actually surprised that they haven't had the blow up on those things, although Zille seems to be cooking that blow up by saying, to hell with you, this is not even a GNU, it's a grand coalition, to hell with you, we're not going to implement ANC policies, this is a new government. So, you know, you are going to have to temper those, if you like, noises if this thing's going to work. Right? And that's what I was saying yesterday, to say, we're at the point where they've decided on a GNU. I don't like it, but you know, I have to live here. I can't go to another country. But I'm gonna hold these guys accountable.
Absolutely, and it's so important that we have those voices to hold that government.
So that's what I was saying. Although the GNU may be a better idea ab initio, there's always a silver lining. I mean, when we were going to know that in prison you could actually have an 82 centimeter TV in your cell? You know, we were waiting for Groenewald. I mean, we had Lamola, a young, dynamic minister in that post for 5 years. I don't remember him doing one raid in the prisons to try and clean them up. You know, we had Zille there at Public Works. A new minister comes and say, hey, 300 million have been stolen here under our noses.
Yeah, in the second week,
you know,
suddenly. Yeah.
You understand? So it unfortunately, the DA guys master PR. In this country, if you want PR, you know, you put DA and EFF neck to neck at number 1 because they know how to play the public sentiment. ANC is at the bottom. It's not even number 3. It's at the bottom of the rank when it comes to public relations. So their ministers don't think they should be out there talking. There are some ministers who have asked to be on my show for 5 years until they were out of office. Right? Look how many, I can't count now how many interviews the Minister of Education, new Minister of Basic Education has done since they were sworn in. I'm sure it's more than what some of the ministers, current ministers, did in 5 years.
Let alone the president.
Right? But what they fail to understand is that politics is about that public relations. You are relating to the public. Right? So even if you have not done 100% of the work, if 50% is communicated, there's a sense that work is happening.
Something is happening.
And it's about generating hope on something that people were not sure whether it can give us hope or not. Right? So I think that the silver lining with the GNU is that they're gonna pressurize each other to work. They're already saying headline, ANC ministers, DA ministers are making ANC ministers look bad. No, they're doing their job. You gave them portfolios. With your own wisdom, you gave them 6 portfolios and several deputy ministers. You think they're gonna sit and not use that to elevate the DA? They are. Even if they were to work as part of a collective. I mean, I saw my friend Kumbuzo Njabeni, trying to crack the whip to say, hey, please, you need to come to cabinet. They're not going to listen to that. Half of the stuff that's in the news from these ministers didn't go to cabinet for what? Because remember, every department already has a business plan. That was approved as a vote in Parliament to say, Department of Home Affairs, we are giving you X number of billions to do the following 20 things. Ministers doesn't have to go to cabinet for every little thing. They implement that which the ANC minister failed to implement for years. Right? And that's, for me, that's part of the silver lining. And I was saying this yesterday on my show. That's part of the silver lining of the GNU. If you look at the ANC ministers, I like somebody like Kubai, at least she was there when there was those floods and what, and she was showing up, etc. The rest are mute. And then the ones who speak, they go off on a tangent. A poor Majordina. No wonder she couldn't pronounce conscientiousness. She's sort of have a half-dead conscience. How do you come there as a water affairs minister and say, please don't call me about your water problems. Call your municipality. Why? Why is there a National Department of Water if I can't call you? You see? So please don't bother me. Go and bother your municipality. It's a local government competence. Oh, okay. Now it's a local government competence. But the president descended on Hammanskraal when 30 people died there because they consumed dirty water. He didn't say, let the DA mayor go there, it's their competence. No, he went there himself with his Minister of Water, with the Premier, I think. So all layers of government were descended on what they see as a problem. No, her first press conference says, please do not call me. Call your mayor or your ward council. In the midst of a PR campaign that's happening with others saying, let's deliver.
Yeah.
She says something completely off on a tangent.
I wonder what you make of, on the subject of the GNU and touching on some of the things you say there, the coherence and the stability of the GNU. As you say, Zille said, this is not a GNU, which I found amazing. But today, I'm not sure if you saw it, she says the EFF is the DA's true rival, and the ANC doesn't know what it stands for.
Yeah.
If you ask the ANC, they won't. I've never known what it stands for.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. I wonder what you think is behind these statements that are clearly aimed at, in some ways, sowing division in the GNU, but in other ways, they clearly want this to work. So what do you make of Zille's comments?
So essentially what Zille is trying to do is, she's trying to please their constituency, right? Because a lot of their constituency, like the constituency of the ANC, did not particularly love the idea of this GNU, etc. Because they were saying, you're going to be diluted, you've been opposing these people for 30 years, now suddenly you are working with them. Zille is trying to send a message that says, don't worry, we're still firmly on the path of holding these guys to account, of bringing them down, of obliterating them from the face of the earth. So don't be confused by the fact that we are now working with them in the GNU. That's really, there's the only explanation. And she confessed as much to say, hey, eyes are on 2026. Right? They've got to campaign. How are they going to campaign? By continuing to say, these guys are not too useful. Actually, look at our DA ministers. That's what you'll see. That's going to come at some point. The DA, if I'm not mistaken, used to do something called a scorecard. At the end of the year, they will do a scorecard for every minister and so, right? So now they are in cabinet, so they'll have to do the scorecard for the ANC ministers and say these guys are failures and what have you. And then maybe they'll do a scorecard for their own ministers because they'll be doing it as party, not as state. So they could say this minister of the DA of Basic Education has managed to get rid of pit latrines, or good luck to her for that. Even Becky couldn't get rid of pit latrines. Even after pronouncing in a State of the Nation, I don't know what year it was.
Yeah,
it was so long
10
ago.
years or something.
Yeah.
It's still going.
Yeah, So anyway, good luck to her. Let's say she gets it right. Then they'll give her an A. I'm predicting that's what's going to happen. DA is not going to fold its arms and play Kumbaya ahead of 2026. And Zille was being given a mandate to say, we're inside. So John Steenhuisen is largely restrained He's yet to utter one word on agriculture.
Absolutely.
He must get on with the work.
I heard him defending Phala Phala the other day as well. I was like, wow,
yeah, that's crazy. No, that one, that actually, that's even before I took a break.
Yeah.
I commented on the order of Zille. Zille who said they're not going to impeach a president, they just voted for.
Yeah.
Right? Steenhuisen says, no, I would rather go with Phala Phala than with VBS.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people who I can produce quotable quotes about what they said on Phala Phala and the lack of accountability and the fact that you need, only a few months ago, So, in summary, the DA started to campaign for 2026. There was a danger that by being in the GNU, they'll be restrained from campaigning.
Sure.
So what they have decided to do is to split forces. Zille is going to provoke from outside because she's not part of government, so she doesn't care about Ramaphosa.
Yeah, makes sense.
Ramaphosa is not their boss. And then Steenhuisen will lead the troops of the ministers who are inside to deliver, to work with the government, to make sure things happen.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can interpret it.
It's an interesting interpretation.
Balula is right to say, don't be frustrated by Zille's remarks and just ignore her. Let's all work.
Yeah, it's an interesting interpretation. In fact, I was going back to our last interview, and you were one of the first people to talk about a GNU. No one was talking about it back then, and we actually had a whole conversation.
They thought I'm crazy.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation. There should be a GNU. Other people who have made an interesting entrance into this GNU include Gayton McKenzie.
Yeah.
I wonder what you make of how he has transitioned. I mean, on the one hand, he's attracted a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And he's clearly built a big social media following. But then on the other hand, he can be quite a loose cannon, veering into just saying crazy things.
Look, I mean, Gayton McKenzie is more like Julius Malema. In a sense that they are outliers. In a political setup, there are people who are calm like a Tlabisa. He won't say anything to hurt a fly. That's why they say you must go and deal with disaster management. Be compassionate and make sure that people don't drown and burn in shacks. You don't expect him to say anything dramatic, even about his portfolio of traditional leaders and what.
Sure.
Right? So he's not an outlier. He's like, middle of the road guy. Doesn't want to hurt anybody. Doesn't want to offend anybody. And then you've got a Julius Malema or a Gayton who don't mind to offend. In fact, offending seems to be their strategy, right? To achieve what they want, and to also, get the necessary attention, which is a capital of politics, is to be noticed. Right, so that's the first part. So he's an outlier. Don't expect him to do things in an orderly fashion and whatever. I mean, in the first week or two, he released a list that all of us have been wondering about for years. Because the artists have a tendency to complain even when they're given money, right? And you don't know whether the complaint is because they were given 75 million less than the last time, or what. Or that indeed they are given peanuts. Yeah. So that list answers the question.
Yeah.
You can see it. Anyway, those are public funds. I hear the artists are upset. No.
Yeah.
Those lists were supposed to be in the annual report of arts and culture in the first place. Those are our monies. So I don't mind that kind of thing. But it's like shooting from the hip kind of thing. Yeah. I don't even know whether when he was releasing the list, he knew what he was going to find in the list. You understand? But in general terms, you must expect that he's going to use that portfolio, junior as it may seem, right, to lift the profile both of himself and the PR. I quite like the guy. I mean, I think he'll make a difference. Obviously, now that he has a whole department behind him, hopefully he'll find good advisors there who will ground him, who will say, no, minister, we shouldn't say this now, shouldn't, but you are never going to control an outlier completely.
Yeah.
You understand? An outlier, that's why it's called an outlier, is walking, on a track, what do you call it? The tracks less traveled or road less traveled. So I think that they managed to negotiate themselves a good deal. an outlier will surprise you. I mean, the guy is not even taking his salary. Let's start there. He said, no, I'm going to donate my salary to a foundation to look for missing children. What are you going to fault him on? Yeah. You can't fault him on riding the gravy train. He's jumped off the gravy train on day one. And he's there to work. He won't get everything right, but that kind of energy in terms of ministers who must lead, who must be in the front, is what is required in government.
You mentioned the EFF as well there, and I wonder what you make of where they sit right now, because in many ways I think they were probably targeting this as a breakthrough election, and I think it might have been were it not for MK.
MK, yeah. MK messed us up. Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, since the election, they've been quite vocal in opposition, and so what do you think of the EFF? They go to a conference this year, and where's opposition politics right now in South Africa in this GNU moment?
Yeah, look, I like the EFF. I don't think people must even have a doubt about it. I like them. I like how they've entered into the mainstream of politics and sort of energized it. And I think these elections has weakened opposition in that they were now supposed to say, we've traversed 10 years, now we can transition into proving that we can actually now govern.
Yeah.
Even if it was minimal roles. So I think there was a missed opportunity, right, to negotiate a good... You see what the ANC has done? They lost elections, but won... What do you say?
Yeah.
Won the negotiations.
Yeah, they lost the election.
I mean, they've got a bigger cabinet than before they lost the election.
I know, they even feel more confident somehow. You see their statements and it's like they're running the whole country now.
So I think not all is lost with the EFF. And I think all they need to do now is to rebuild a new kind of opposition that can actually push us to the right direction.
Yeah.
The direction I talked about in terms of dealing with all those elements of what I call a time bomb. Because the current guys who are in the GNU are not going to do anything radical.
Yeah.
They're going to try not to offend each other for the next 5 years, Because I'm waiting for a discussion about how are they going to deal with BEE, because
absolutely.
DA has clearly said they don't want it. They don't want QB. They're in court fighting that. They don't want NHI. They're in court fighting that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to work out. I had a chat with Deputy President Paul Mashatile a few weeks ago, and I was curious to say, how was the Lekotla with the opposition? I was saying he said it was he used the word promising start.
Interesting.
In that they got the DGs to consolidate all the party manifestos and present the common document. And there was little or no opposition to that common document, which was quite fascinating. That's why I was saying to you, once you get to a point where a decision has been made about the way forward, the next question is, how do you hold those people accountable for what they themselves are promising? Right? You can hanker on the fact that you don't like the GNU and so on. I mean, that's well known.
Sure.
But now going forward, they must account, and we must also be able to give credit where it's due, like we did, to say these new ministers understand the value of saving the public.
Yeah.
So the EFF, right, now has a new role suddenly, because MK is new. They've got 10 years experience in parliament, right? So it means that in a sense they're the ones who are expected to be leaders of this progressive forum, right? And create a proper counterforce, because you cannot have a totalitarian state. Right? In fact, in many ways, if the GNU was a real GNU, we should include everybody. We'll have a totalitarian state, because we are now all part of the government. Who's going to be left to guard the guardians?
Yeah.
You see? So, that, again, there's a silver lining. The MK and EFF will have to consolidate the opposition. The MK articulations in parliament, first of all, I was surprised that those debates came so early in the term, because I was wondering, when did they apply their minds to all those budget votes? Apparently the MK rejected all the budget votes. it's the easiest thing to do,
Sure.
to just reject, because you don't need too much preparation to reject something. Whereas you may need more preparation to agree with something or amend something. Right? So I think they'll have to get their act together. I understand that they're bringing some big guns like the Lucky Montanas of this world, so we could have a better sense of articulation and debate and engagement. Not what we saw for the SON. I think that was quite poor in terms of what they were putting forward. Whereas the EFF speakers are always on point. They always choose the right people to go up to the podium to deal with it. So a combination of the two, if they work together as this progressive forum, may give us a new kind of opposition, which unfortunately the EFF at this point have painted themselves into that corner.
Yeah.
So they'll have to wait for another election. Maybe the local government election, maybe they will get more seats in councils and what have you.
No, there's still a lot of politics ahead of us. And, one of the things, more things on the GNU before I want to turn to your career and ask some questions about your interviewing and some of the stories you have from there. But one thing for me is the GNU hasn't achieved anything yet, in my view, except constituting itself, which obviously is great, but that's not delivering.
Yeah.
So when are they going to start achieving things? Because at some point, people are going to start asking. I know it's a little early.
Come on,
right
it's 2 months,
No, 2 months is a long time.
Yeah, it's 2 months. They must plan. The NC is just going to East Lokotla just today.
But like, how long? They were in a cabinet Lekotla, now 6 days of ANC Lekotla. Like, when do they start
need those Makotlas? Because remember, it's a whole paradigm shift. The NC is just bruised. They've lost an election for the first time. So they cannot be business as usual. They are now in a collaboration where they cannot do as they please. You got guys who are ministers who are now deputy ministers. And I'm sure there must have been a good reason for that.
True.
Right. So what I'm saying is that they like in any project that you are going to run, you got to plan.
But
we're going to do this at this point. It's going to cost so much.
Like before the election, I would have thought you would have been planning before the election so that once you're in government, you hit the ground running. Now we're 2 months in.
No,
and nothing is
you can't because you can plan as far as possible with an assumption. It's like the moonshot. What happened to it? Nobody even talking about it now, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure the moonshot even had committees. I mean, they had a top professor from VETS helping them to pull the thing together. I'm sure that guys didn't sort of scribble a one page. I'm sure they've got the full document of ready to govern like the NC had in 1994. Yeah. So unfortunately, this is a reset moment, even for the ANC. Yeah, I don't expect them to deliver anytime soon, right? But remember, they don't. You got the 5-year horizon, so they're not in a rush to prove anything, unfortunately, right?
Sure. Although, some of our challenges.
No, they don't feel. No, the fact that they went for a coalition with a DA, I don't think that in itself showed a sense of urgency about the challenges of this country.
Sure.
I'm sorry, right? Because if they were serious about the fact that they acknowledge the 30 years did not quite deliver the goods, they would have said, how do we make the next 30 years different?
Yeah.
What they have done now is that to make the next 30 years almost the same as the last one, because they have partnered with people who would rather not see change, and that's my problem. And I truly want the DA to prove me wrong.
Yeah, that's my thing is that we're in a honeymoon period right now, and everyone is enchanted by the GNU, and it's interesting and it's new. But at some point, maybe not now, maybe I'm being a little impatient, we're going to actually have to see the goods being delivered.
Yeah, that's why we must be. I think that is Professor Bonamo who said the key takeaway from this whole situation is that we must be vigilant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, absolutely. And that's what I was saying. In one or another on the other end to say, don't expect me to be romantic and just say, it's black and white together. That's not gonna last. In 1994, we're solving for what with the GNU? We're solving for reconciliation. So you can't 30 years later still be solving for unity.
Yeah.
Right? Because that unity will mean nothing if you've got 68% of young people starving, sleeping under bridges, 14 million people going to bed hungry, and you name it. Right? So that unity will be meaningless. Yeah. What you needed to focus on is the economy.
Fam, you asked for some SMWX merch and we have delivered. I know you're always looking for ways to help support and grow this channel. So why don't you buy yourself an SMWX hoodie? Super comfy, super warm, and you can represent SMWX. You can check the link down below for how to buy your SMWX hoodie and help build and grow this channel so we can bring you more interviews, more analysis, and more educational insights. Now let's get back to it.
For it to benefit more and more people, not less. So I agree with you. We're going to have to be vigilant, and fortunately, these guys will soon release a report or some kind of a framework that they've agreed, because it's not yet made public.
Let's hope so.
And that should be our Bible to see how far are you on this.
Absolutely.
But the dear ministers are not waiting for that. The Minister of Basic Education saying, I want pediatricians out.
Home Affairs is running ahead.
You understand? So the ANC may hang around. What the DA is hoping for is not for an assessment, either positive or otherwise, of the GNU. It's for the assessment of their ministers having done better than the ANC ministers. And I'll be, I'm quite sure I'm not wrong about that, because otherwise it won't be real politics if it was not that way. They are in there to make sure that they can lift the profiles of the party, so that in 2026 they're able to say, look at what the DA can do for you. We've already proved ourselves in Cape Town, in Mid-Val. Now we're proving ourselves nationally. Trust us with your vote. Not these ones. These ones are lazy. Even by that time it will be 2 years. They'll say in 2 years they've achieved nothing. I can predict that's going to be the narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Let's come on to some of your actual journalistic and broadcasting career. Because you've established yourself as maybe the premier interviewer of politicians in the country. You've had some magical moments, some viral moments. What was the toughest interview that you've ever had to do?
Well, we mean besides packing.
Oh yeah, well I suppose we spoke about
that.
We
did speak about that.
Was that the toughest one? Okay, let's say
it was more surprising than tough. Maybe for those who missed the previous interview, there are two types of interview you do. There's an interrogatory interview, so you come there, you account. Like in Balula, you come there and you say, no, load shedding will be a thing of the past by the end of the day. I say, really? And then we deal with that. Or your president, you took your president to Alexander, he promised 1 million houses. How many have been built? And he says 100,000. I said, not even one has been built. By the way, I didn't know that for a fact. Right? But it tended to be true. Because he didn't contest it. I said, you haven't even built one. You wanted to build 1 million, but you didn't build one. Maybe it's a thing about a journey of 1,000 steps starts with one. They didn't even start. Right? So dealing with Mbalula is always very interesting. Also, I was still saying, so you got two types of interview: interrogatory and then celebratory. So somebody like Suleiman, Dr. Suleiman, we put them on those blue chairs. And we are either celebrating you or we are trying to extract wisdom out of you, an elder statesman. Somebody who is above the fray. It's not somebody you are interrogating. You say, you promised this, why didn't you do this? No. But you say, what should be done to take the country forward? So those are the type, and some people find the blue chairs one boring because there's no fireworks half the time, unless you're interviewing Mohueng, or a packing. Now it can go wrong when you call the people to actually celebrate them. Then they misinterpret your interrogation as hostility rather than giving them a platform to answer their detractors. So, but no, those that both my friends, even today, no hard feelings whatsoever. In fact, those were the highest ranking shows of all time. I think parking was 86%. Only second to the Israel interview I talked about, but just way before that. And then even Mogoeng, I think it was in the 80s in terms of market share. Although it was rough because he didn't want to hear anything about vaccinations and whatever. Right? So that's what I can remember. The rest are just a pleasure. The key thing is all my guests, literally, are repeat guests. Because after they come there, after everybody has warned them not to come, they realize that it's not so bad. We've got 45 minutes where you can explain yourself. You understand? I'm not on 7:02 in the morning where you have 5 minutes to tell your story and finish. No, you don't worry. We're going to take a break. Or do you want to call a friend? And I've got some ministers, let me call a friend. Because if they are asked a question that is outside their portfolio, they don't want to contradict their fellow ministers. So I say, no, during the break, you can call a friend. There's no problem. Then they call their fellow ministers. Hey, man, what did we say about XYZ in cabinet? When we come back, I say, right, answer that question. So I'm not calling the people there to trap them, to make them feel small, or to show them that I'm cleverer than. No, we're having. That's why the tagline is conversations that build. I'm trying to ask to have a conversation in the country that builds. That's why I would interview even the people, the most incorrigible people. I mean, I had Mboro on my show.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can go and Google it. Yeah.
Sure.
You understand? I mean, and they were saying, what the hell? Why would you bring Mboro? That show was, I think, 65% market share.
Interesting.
Right?
Wow. Because
you don't call only the people you agree with.
Absolutely. I mean, that would just be boring. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
You must also call people who, by that conversation and by engagement with Twitter, with phone calls and what, they maybe can see their ways.
What was it like to interview him? Because often when you interview someone, you get a different impression on the TV.
No, it was interesting. I mean, he's got a good side to him, like all of us. And I was fascinated by his ministry and whatever, and wanted to find out what he thinks of, the role of religion and faith, etc. in the country. So it was quite pleasant. People didn't think, they thought, what the hell are you going to discuss with Mboro? You know? And I wanted to talk about this false prophets issue because that really bugs me. That truly gives religion a bad name. This people who are giving rats for people to eat or sand or doom. It's crazy. So I think I wanted to put a spotlight on that kind of thing. And then you got pedophiles for priests. Now that's the West. And these charismatic ones now are joining the fray with sexual grooming and what have you. So I also wanted him to attack these others. So it was just a mixed bag of an interview. So, in my career, at some point, the owners and so on may become uncomfortable to say, why did you bring so and so and whatever? But I don't listen to that because my deal is you don't tell me what guests to bring. Let's agree on that. That becomes an opinion piece within your news station. And people will trust it better that way. And I'm also able to go to public and say, these guys haven't bothered me. I've been there for 4 years. People thought I was going to be fired in the first 6 months. And barring anything dramatic or a better offer somewhere, I'm probably going to retire there. There's no reason to leave.
If they have any wisdom, they'll let you do your thing.
You understand? So far, so good, really. And what, like I'm saying, what is the disagreements that are healthy among? I mean, I believe that even if you are independent, you must listen to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But they have never made a habit of saying, "Why don't you bring so and so in interviews?" Actually, it's very surprising that I've never had to do that. If anything, I'm the one who volunteers and goes to them and say, guys, this is what I'm doing the next month. What do you think? And they will have one or two suggestions here and there. But really nothing that would suggest that they would try to control what I will say, when I'll say it, and how I'm going to say it. And that doesn't mean they always like my rants.
Sure.
Sometimes you just say, my God, what the hell was that about? Well, but I get that at home anyway. When I get home after dinner, or after my show, as I arrive, my wife will say, why would you say something like that on TV? So I've got a critic there. I've got to know my story, you know.
Exactly.
So it's not like I'm short of critics. Because you need that. You need somebody who can bounce ideas with, somebody who can critique you and so on. You know, also my producer have to put on the brakes half the time. He said, no, but we can't say such a thing on air. You know, this is when I've rehearsed in her presence. Otherwise, I don't rehearse. When I come to work, I'm ready. I've rehearsed in my shower and throughout the day. And I could just go straight onto air. I know what I'm going to do.
And is the rant in your head? Like you've thought about it, but then because you don't use a teleprompter, you just speak from.
It's because I can't see that far. So
anyway,
so that helps. So the person who does the auto cue takes a break during that hour. So the rant is very structured. Right? It's structured. Sometimes I actually write it, write the points down. But I'm sure you've seen, I've never referred to the notes. Hardly refer to the notes. In fact, it's distracting if I try to refer to the notes. But throughout the day, I would know I'm going to deal with the following 4 themes. I would let my producer know so that they can put the relevant images behind me. Right? Sometimes we get to all of them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I say, we're going to do part 2 tomorrow. You know? But it's very structured. It's interesting because I realize how structured it is when it's actually now transcribed.
Interesting.
Because when you go to speech, because we've got complaints, I've been to the PCCSA for about maybe 7 times with people complaining about all sorts of things. So the legal people don't even have to come to me. They just go to the thing, transcribe it and say, this is what happened, this is what was said, and this was the theme, these are the points made. And I realized how this is very structured, man. You know, and actually very little repetition unless for emphasis. But actually it's very coherent. Remember, you're talking to yourself for what, 12 to 15 minutes?
Interesting.
Right? So you can't come there unprepared and think you're just going to freelance. You got to have thought about, I'm going to make this point, that point. You know, and what's sad is that after the run, you realize, I forgot that point, that point. You know, I wanted to make it more punchy this way or the other. For example, this whole thing about the DA hates affirmative action. They hate NHI. They hate, and then somebody said they hate black people. You know, but that actually was not part of the plan. It was sort of, you know, it was sort of carried by the momentum. Right? But actually there was a whole paragraph where I was saying the ANC actually likes or loves Palestine. What are they going to do?
So you're going to flip it.
The ANC loves empowerment. The ANC. So how are they? These guys who hate this one, they like. How are they going to get it together? Right? So sometimes it's more an artistic thing. As long as the point is made in an unconventional way, right? But at the end of the day, it's thought through. It's intellectual. I you know, sometimes I use clips, but very minimally because they can distract the flow. I'll use maybe a clip or 2 if I wanted to really make a punchy point or whatever. You know, or you know, sometimes you find that the clip that I want, they cannot find it because I think about it there last minute. By the time I get to work at 6 p.m., you know, it's too late to actually introduce new things. In the morning, I have to say to the producer, I want this clip, I want Ramaphosa saying this, I want Julius saying this, because it's going to be part of the rant. Right? But 15 minutes suddenly is not enough. Once a year, we do a 1-hour rant.
Wow.
Yeah, where we look at the entire year. And we use clips, we use music, when we just package the whole year. Or sometimes we do that also at the end of a season.
Interesting. I must check that out.
So we say end of season, last rant of the season. Then we just sort of round off all the interesting things. So far it has resonated. And it doesn't look like anybody has tried to replicate it so far. Those who have tried have failed, which is good for me and my ratings.
Indeed. Hey, those ratings are very high. JJ Tabane, thank you so much for joining us on SMWX. You know, it's a real honor to have you and have you many times. And on this platform, we believe we have our blue chairs.
Yeah.
Yes. On giving those who are living in the moment their flowers. And you've done really important work in our media. You may take a lot of flack, but that's 1% of the noise. And I think
absolutely
the other 99% is admiration and love. So thank you for all you do.
No, thank you. And you owe me to come to the show now.
Absolutely.
It's now urgent.
Yeah.
Because I really want to tap into your erudite brain.
Anytime.
I like how you've analyzed the election outcomes, etc. At the seminar we both were. So I really enjoy how you analyze, etc. I love your work, the books that you write, etc. So I think my viewers can gain
Would love it.
a lot for you to just come there.
Rant?
That would be nice. I'll just start the show and say,
anyway,
over to you.
No, anytime. I'll be there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for watching. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Help us get to 200,000 subscribers. Yeah.